Am I the asshole for making a budget to show my niece how hard it would be if she married her fiancé? My niece is engaged to her new boyfriend. They have been dating for 4 months and she is just 19. My brother told her that he will stop funding her life if she marries him. My niece is pretty spoiled. She visited me last week. I think she thought I would be supportive because I was also cut off because I refused to divorce my wife. She was telling me who she knew it would be difficult but she could manage because she loved him. I asked her if she had a budget, she said she didn't. I offered to help make her one and she was enthusiastic. She didn't know how much he made and when she texted him about it he was being shady and not responding. So I assumed he would make $16 per hour and work 12 hours per day for 6 days and $10,000 in tips, and I assumed she would work the same hours and make the same amount. I then showed her how much things will actually cost and budgeted them figures in. I also emphasized that these were very generous assumptions on my part and it is a rosier picture than reality. It still meant that she would have to make substantial changes to her lifestyle, and I think it dawned on her how drastically different it would be to date someone without money and be actually married to them. She asked me how we made it work and I told her that my wife and I had sat down for hours preparing budgets and getting ready to be cut off, and we were cut off in our early 30s and already had 2 great careers and received other inheritances which had helped immensely. She was sober and serious when she left my house. She broke up with him and has moved back home. It appears she asked him about his salary and it was lower than my assumptions and that freaked her out and she broke up with him. She is upset and she said I scared her and she really misses him. My wife said that I was a bit manipulative with my assumptions as I did know they were more generous than normal and she would freak out when she tried to make a real budget. I did know that and it does make me feel a bit bad. I feel like I played her here. ETA. I meant $10K yearly in tips, obviously not weekly. Not the asshole. You didn't play her. You gave her a badly needed dose of reality. You showed her how to make a budget, which gave her a rosy picture of how her life would be with him financially. It was a much lower standard of living than she is used to. It forced her to look at the financial ramifications going forward if she stayed in that relationship. She decided that her standard of living was more important to her than love. Thanks for taking the time to explain to her how things work in the adult world. I guess not the asshole. Your niece sounds very immature, and probably shouldn't be getting married just because of that. I mean, 1 minute anything can work because true love, and one sobering financial conversation later and she's dumping him? She didn't even stay with him and get engaged, married later, she just cut it off entirely. Whether or not you were manipulative, it was information she clearly needed to hear, and a delusion she needed to see past. Not the asshole, you gave her an important life lesson in budgeting and living expenses. It was her decision to choose money over her new BF. Not the asshole, you just gave her info. What she did with that info is on her. That said, why are the only options in her head to get married or to break up? Why can't they just date for now? I'm not sure because I'm so confused. You assumed this man worked 12 hours per day 6 days per week? A 72-hour work week? Also, you got cut off in your 30s after already having good careers and you needed to budget plan for hours on end just to make it? Where the hell do you guys live? I'm sorry, what? She was living in a fantasy world and you finally dragged her back into reality. Not the asshole. Not the asshole, you were just showing her a bit of reality. That isn't being an asshole. Work 12 hours per day for 6 days and $10,000 in tips. Damn, what industry do you get 72 hours a week and still get tips? Not the asshole, you saved her. Not because he's broke but because he was being shady about answering her questions. No comments about the age here. Am I the asshole for being annoyed when my nephew always orders the most expensive food on the menu? Whenever we go out to a family dinner I always insist on paying, especially when it's with my father, mother-in-law. My sister-in-law's son, 11, always sees this as a chance to order the most expensive menu options. Today at lunch we all ordered entrees while he got the fanciest appetizer, starter and a whole lobster to himself. When his lobster came he took a bite and said, "I don't want it anymore. I'm full." I suggested he take it home but he responded with, "I don't eat leftovers." I tried to hide my annoyance but this continually happens every time we get together. I'm getting real sick of it, especially when my own meal costs $20 and his ends up being $120 plus each time. Hell, always get the most expensive filet mignon steak or seafood and never finish. Am I the asshole for telling my wife to talk to her nephew to limit his ordering when we go out to dinner? I feel like they will call me an asshole for dictating what they order and that my insistence on paying shouldn't have any strings attached. Edit. I'm Asian and so are everyone on my wife's side of the family. In my culture I must insist on paying, especially when my father, mother-in-law are attending, or else I lose face. My insistence to pay and hospitality reflect on how my parents have raised me. I don't get all the ESH and YTA on here? His parents are the ones who suck and should be teaching their child that you don't waste food or order things vastly more expensive than everyone else when someone is paying. Hopefully your wife can gently remind them of this. Otherwise I'd recommend just paying for your immediate family and they can pay for their son. I'm sure he'll stop ordering $100 plus of food super quickly. ETA. Not the asshole. Second edit. I don't think I've ever had more than 100 upvotes, let alone any awards in here. Thank you all, but please don't spend money on me. Not the asshole. As usual, comments here have no cultural sensitivity. Op has stated in a comment that they are Asian, and paying for those meals might be a lot more of an obligation than people on here think. The nephew's parents should know better and curb that spending ASAP. It's just plain rude. Not the asshole, you mentioned you're Asian, so am I. My parents would have stopped me from pulling something like that and made sure I ordered something sensible. They need their Asian cards revoked. Not the asshole. You would be the asshole if we were just answering your title question. However, by your description, it's not simply that he orders the most expensive thing. It's that he orders multiple expensive items, then doesn't eat even close to all of what he ordered, and refuses to enjoy it later. And that it's a pattern behavior, not an isolated mistake. That makes him ta. You're not exactly a victim here, though, since you allow this to continue. Not the asshole. I would be furious if my daughter ordered something that expensive when someone else was paying and then didn't eat it. I think if I were you I would just not offer to pay next time. Let his parents pay for lobster he won't eat. I think it's rude that your in-laws just keep allowing you to pay without offering themselves. Info. Why do you insist on paying every time? Not the asshole. I'd tell your sil that what he's doing is unacceptable and if he tries it again, she's paying for it. I'm not Asian, but I was raised that if someone else is paying, you don't order something more than their option costs. Because that's just rude and taking advantage of them. Not the asshole. Try this next time. Nephew. I'll have the lobster. Op. Last time you ordered lobster you only ate one bite and wouldn't take the rest home. Nephew. I'll have the lobster. Op. If you don't finish it, your mom's paying for it. Nephew. I'll have the lobster. Mom. To server. He'll have the hamburger with fries. Would I be the asshole if I reported a family friend who outed my pregnancy to her place of work? I, 20F, recently found out that I'm pregnant, which came as a surprise because I'm on BC. I made an appointment with an OB that's close to me with high ratings to confirm the pregnancy, and when I walked in I was immediately concerned because the woman behind the desk is a friend of my mom's. They're not super close, I hadn't seen her in years, but they've known each other since high school and I know they sort of keep in touch. I didn't feel ready to tell anyone other than my boyfriend and obviously doctor about the baby, so I was freaking out a little. But my boyfriend assured me that she wouldn't be able to say anything to my mom about the baby without my consent. When I got home my mom was waiting for me because she already knew about the baby. Apparently her friend had texted to congratulate her before I could even make it home. Everything is going to be okay and my mom is being supportive, but honestly I'm pissed at this lady and I want to report her to the OB. My family is supportive of the baby, but if she had opened her big mouth to someone with a different kind of family, the outcome could have been really bad. My boyfriend agrees with me but thinks it's kinda Karen-ish. On the other hand my mom thinks her friend crossed a few lines, but to report her and potentially put her employment at risk would be petty and an asshole move. I think mom's friend is an asshole, and a potentially dangerous one at that. Would I be the asshole for reporting her big mouth to her employer? TLDR. The receptionist, office manager at my OB office, who is a family friend, told my mom about my pregnancy. Now I want to know, would I be the asshole for reporting her to her employers? ETA. It's been asked a few times, so adding that I'm in the US. Not the asshole. That is a major HIPAA violation, if you're in the US. I'm assuming other countries have laws regarding patient privacy as well. Not the asshole. This is not only a HIPAA breach but could be a deadly one for another woman in a different circumstance. You should absolutely report her to her employer. Are you in the US? HIPAA laws are very serious here. If you are not in the US, privacy is still very important. This isn't about the harm caused. It is about the breach to confidentiality. Think of how her doing this could harm someone. Or even just embarrass them. What if you didn't want to keep the child? The list goes on. What in the world was she thinking? Not the asshole. Your OB office needs to know. Presuming you are in the US, that is a huge violation of HIPAA. Not the asshole. You need to go complain to the proper authorities because she broke HIPAA law when she shared your confidential information without your knowledge. This is big no-no for anyone that works in healthcare or handles healthcare-related stuff, even if it's just paperwork. Opening square bracket. Don't feel guilty if this gets her fired, as everyone in the healthcare industry is well aware of HIPAA laws and they know what can happen if they break them. OMG, I would be livid. What if you weren't planning to keep it? What if you maybe, I dunno, wanted to share your own news with your own mother in your own special way? Absolutely report her. Not the asshole. She needs a bite from the hippopotamus. Definitely not the asshole. Not the asshole. She broke the law by telling your mother her friend about your private medical records. She's also in a place or position of authority where she could do some serious harm to someone else if she were to mention something like this to the wrong person, and knows that it's illegal to give out or break the law in confidence by revealing what she knows. Let her face the consequences of her actions, and if she loses her job in the process, well, so be it, as she's only got herself to blame for this. Am I the asshole for telling my wife she can't get rid of the dog? 15 months ago, my new wife told me she wanted a dog. I had been told by my stepchildren and her longtime friends that my wife has a long history of wanting a dog more than anything in the world. She has the worst case of ADHD I've ever seen in an adult. Then finding a new home for the dog when she gets tired of it. After a long conversation, she assured me that wouldn't happen, so I explained how much I love dogs and that she couldn't make a dog part of my family and then take it away. She promised. Fast forward a few months, and the newness wore off for her as my affection grew for our very small dog. He's not perfect. Even after more than a year we can't get him to consistently poop outside, but he's such a happy, affectionate puppy. Without consulting me first, my wife spent $2,000 on a new dog, a whole other issue, last summer. As her interest in the new dog grew, her disdain for our first dog also grew. She wants to get rid of the first dog. I've told her she made him part of my family, and I'm now a package deal which includes him, so he's going nowhere. She thinks I'm an asshole for not standing by her. Am I the asshole? Edit. Thank you all for the feedback, messages, and awards. I started off trying to respond to all comments, but there were just too many. My wife is clearly the asshole, and I'm putting pieces in place to make her my ex-wife. She gave me her word, I gave her my trust, and she abused it. I work from home and crate the dogs if I leave, since no one else in the house will lift a finger for them, so I'm not worried about one of them accidentally getting out, and I sincerely think she knows better than to physically abuse them. Her interest in the newer dog is starting to fade, so I'm sure when I leave, she owned the house before we met, I'll be taking both of them. Since she's impulse shopped us close to poverty, it's going to be a slow process getting funds together before I walk out the door. She's in therapy and takes a casserole of daily meds, although I'm certain she's a covert narcissist who misidentifies as an empath. No therapist can help her because she's delusional, and no man is ever going to find prolonged happiness with her. This is all shit I wish I'd have known before marrying her, but live and learn. Not the asshole. Pets are not toys, they're living beings with feelings like us. You can't discard them when they're inconvenient. SMDH. Not the asshole. Just to be clear though, that's not a function of her ADHD. She's just being her callous, cruel, authentic self. Best XO. Not the asshole, but it sounds like you have some serious marriage issues going on here from what you've written. Not the asshole. You made it clear that you will not be getting rid of the dog once it is part of the family. Dogs are not toys that you can just get tired of and put away. They are living creatures that need love. Don't let your wife get rid of the second dog when she gets bored of that one either. You are a 2-dog household now. Try to make it clear that 3 dogs are too much, if you think so, but, if she gets a third dog, you can't get rid of that one either. Not the asshole. Curious when she'll get bored of you and, her ADHD, will kick in and she'll want to divorce you. Not the asshole, but don't blame her ADHD. Replacing loved ones isn't part of it. Not the asshole. Thank you for standing up for the little pupper. And I have some major concerns about your wife's behavior with animals. Is she one of those folks who gets a dog, doesn't bother with consistent training, and gets frustrated when it isn't perfect? Then of course thinks the next dog will be her perfect dog, wash, rinse, repeat? How could you be with someone who is so cruel to animals and yet, and this is a big yet, still allows her to have them? Not the asshole, but I seriously am dubious of your morals here, cause there is no way all these animals are being rehomed to good places.